I would like to call this meeting to order. Today's May 22nd. It's 6:33 p.m. Present with us, we have President McGee and Councilor Cocaine Givner and myself, Israel Rivera. Present with us in council chambers, we have Councilor Bartley. We also have Councilor Vacan online. We have with us Councilor Maldonado Velez, and we also have Councilor Will Puello. I guess I would like to entertain a motion to call in the city engineer.
Motion to have the city engineer come in.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So for today, for this particular meeting, this is practically a traffic meeting. We pretty much took a bunch of orders that have been filed over the last 2 to 3 years and sent them over to the city engineer pretty much to get addressed. We planned this out about a month and a half ago, so it's taken some time for the city. Well, we gave some time to the city engineer to do some research and try to mitigate or address a lot of the issues that we have up forward. So we have 41 items. He pretty much has addressed all of the items in a memo, but we're gonna go through. We're gonna allow him to go through his introduction, and then we'll go item by item so that he could address them. Chris?
Mr. Chair, just a point of order. Do you have a copy of the memo?
Yes, you could have.
Yeah?
I was gonna say you could have mine, but I wrote on it already.
I have a couple extra copies there at the front of the committee desk.
Thanks.
Yep. It's also in email too, just in case. For those that are online.
Is he taking up all 41?
We're going to take up all 41. So maybe you could clarify this. I wanted to take them as a package, but they're not all going to be the same. Some will be tabled and some will be complied with.
Make a motion to take up items 1 through 41 as a package for discussion.
Microphone, Todd.
Oh, yeah, sorry. Make a motion to take up items 1 through 41 as a package for discussion
Okay.
purposes.
All right. So then, there you go. All in favor?
Nobody knows what's going on.
Hey, Jeff, your microphone is on. So just for clarification, because we got a lot of noise there, we're going to entertain a motion to take 1 through 41 as a package for discussion.
Correct. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right. So I will allow Chris to introduce himself and do his spiel, right? And then we'll go through the items 1 through 41.
All right, thank you. So Chris Baker, city engineer. Hi to everyone online. So this meeting, the idea with this meeting is to address and bring back on the table many orders that have been outstanding, some for several years now. And a lot of them are related to traffic safety specifically. So I did want to write a memo and detail what the DPW is doing for traffic safety, kind of a more broad overview of all the initiatives that we have, all the projects that we have going on, and the different grant funding sources that have been identified and that we either have already submitted applications or intend to. The beginning of the memo, I sort of address I know that, speed humps and raised crosswalks have been talked about here. Those are kind of a popular or more well-known traffic calming measure. I also outlined several other low-cost options for traffic safety or traffic calming applications. And some of these are, able to be implemented at a lower cost than some of the other ones. So crosswalk markings, solid white edge lines, those tend to give people the appearance of a narrower road, so they tend to drive slower. Corner extension bulb out, so those would be at crosswalks, so it shortens the distance that the pedestrians are traveling. It doesn't allow people to park up to the crosswalk because there's actually curb extensions up to the traveled roadway. So it just helps pedestrian visibility. Raised crosswalks, I talked about that, gets pedestrians up more increases visibility, and also it does slow traffic down as people go over a speed table.
Real quick, I'm sorry to
Yep.
cut you off. So you're saying the bulb out, the pop out corners. I feel like those make a lot more sense because when you're pulling out, like you can't really see in certain spaces.
Yeah.
And especially coming off at the Dwight, there's a lot of intersections where you can't see at all. So like doing that as a calming measure, that's an awesome.
Yeah, yeah. And when people are waiting to cross, they're not waiting behind a car. They're waiting kind of at the edge of the road, so you really do see them. There's some right out here on Dwight, out of the back parking lot, that work well. Rectangular rapid flashing beacons, RRFBs. Those are the push buttons that blink. Speed humps we've talked about. Just general signage. Some of these may be LED blinking signs, other just informational signs like yield signs. And then traverse rumble strips. Those are the grooves cut across the roadway that when you hit them, there's a sound and a vibration to it.
Have those on 202, going down the hill and up the hill?
That
They're
it's-
passing on the right, through the hatched ends,
Yeah.
literally.
It's something, it does work. It definitely
I
gets
think
your
they're for
attention
when
when
people,
you hit
it's just
them.
in case someone falls asleep at that time.
Yeah, that as well. Getting on the edge of the road, but then also, I know there Mass DOT is talking about them with the Safe Routes to School project at Lawrence School, talking about doing rumble strips. So I also just want to talk about funding and cost. Throughout this memo, I've given prices pretty much across the board for all of these. So when we're talking about them, just to give everyone just a transparent idea about what the current prices are for these. So I've put them in terms of unit prices for the things we just discussed. And then I've also talked about how much, engineering studies cost, design costs, and the different projects that we have going on. So one thing, there's a couple of critical intersections that have come up over and over again. So my intention is the top for my priority list, and these several intersections that I'm going to mention, I would normally try and get funding for these types of engineering studies outside of the Chapter 90 program because I want to use as much money as possible for paving. That's what Chapter 90 is intended for. But you can do other things with Chapter 90 money. So the intersection of Linden Street and West Franklin, that is on the state's top 200 list for crashes. So that's a priority intersection for us to look at. Another one that's come up through many counselors is just it's really the entire corridor of Linden Street all the way from Cabot to Mackenzie Street, and there's several intersections throughout that corridor that have come up again and again, and there are crashes on Linden Street. So those are two that I want to do a more in-depth look at. Linden and West Franklin and All-Way Stop may be the best option there, but we haven't really looked at it. And then the other, the third area that we're going to commit to at least doing studies on is the area Cherry Street around Dale Street and kind of the area of Bodwin Village. Okay, and then places that I want to do vehicle and speed counts on, Whiting Farms Road, choosing several locations along that stretch. It is a long stretch, but just determining kind of what the speeds are, how many cars, what could be, a good applications for traffic calming on that street. And then Beach Street near Linden Street and Portland Street, those are also a place I'd like to actually just collect traffic data to figure out what can be done. So those, I'm hoping to do a round of speed and traffic data collections this fall. And kind of the idea is to do one in the spring and one in the fall of each year. If it's not necessary, we'll just do one collection a year. But that's kind of what I had talked about previously, I think, at this meeting. So, and then the other, I won't go through, everything, all of the projects that the DPW is working on, but they, it starts on page 3. And these are projects either in design or in construction. And there's a whole range of complete streets projects, road safety audits, raised crosswalks, signal replacement. So those are, the Safe Routes to School project is on here. So those are all the projects underway. There's, intersection improvement, the Beach Resnick Mass DOT projects, the Appermont lights on here. So that's, sidewalk replacements. All of these projects are listed. And then at the bottom of page 4, like the second half of page 4, are projects that we're seeking funding for. So these are things I've talked about wanting to do, but don't have money to do. So these are traffic calming installations. I did put in $1 million ARPA application to implement a lot of these, and I know everybody wants it, but it's a matter of where to find the money for it. I also put in an application for the cannabis impact fee for downtown traffic calming planning. So that's, looking at a lot of the intersections downtown and what can be done. We're looking at Main Street reconstruction as a TIP project. We are looking to do a sidewalk master plan and ADA transition plan. There's a couple of different funding sources that we'll be looking at. There's a state grant that comes up once a year, so we'll be applying for that. And then our ongoing CDBG effort with sidewalks and ADA ramps. So that's obviously a very important component of safety as well. So that's really what I wanted to talk about. I think the agenda items, hopefully I've kind of, laid a framework for talking about the agenda items and some of them that, fit into the framework of what I just discussed. We can hopefully move through quickly. So that's what I've got.
Thank you. Anybody on the committee have any questions before we start? And then, hold on. Jeffrey, you have your hand up?
Yeah, just because I think it will be of interest to the public. If members of the public watching are interested in being able to follow along with the memo or seeing the details, they can find it on the website. If they go to holyoke.org and find public safety meeting under upcoming meetings, when they click on that, they'll find an agenda packet tab, and there's a link to the meeting materials there.
Awesome job, Jeff. That's why you get the big bucks. And then I'll open it up to those counselors that are here present in person if they have any questions. I don't. Okay. Counselor Reagan?
Thank you. Well, I would like to thank you for following up on this, and I'm, everything is hurry up and wait, but it is the nature of having to evaluate, and I guess I sort of really appreciate that you took a citywide view, because then you're able to really give the whole city consideration and then come out with the priority list. So I'm looking forward to when you're able to do the further analysis. And I was wondering, and I know you need to do more analysis before you can actually answer this, but it seemed like some of those line markings might be effective for a street like Whiting Farms, because it's so wide open. It just almost begs people to go. And I know I interjected out of order there, but people literally on those cross hatches, literally passed me on the right in the cross hatches. So I don't know if a rumble thing is appropriate in a situation like that. But if we get the light up, then that might then again change the dynamics. So I guess I don't want to ask for anything other to be done till hopefully we
Yeah,
get that
I mean,
done,
another-
right? I mean, you don't
yeah.
want to complicate things.
I think
Yeah.
I think there's two pieces to this too, right? Just so we understand. There's the DPW piece and the city engineer piece, right? And then there's the police piece, right? The enforcement of people passing others when they know that they're
Well,
not sure they shouldn't
yes,
be doing that.
And that brings us to that's
Right.
to the traffic.
So this is just one piece of the traffic
Team.
that we're doing here, and then I think hopefully we're able to do the same with police and seeing what calming measures that they're going to try to incorporate to try
Well,
to couple it up with this.
It hopefully would be a collaborative effort.
That's the
but-
idea.
So I just want to thank you for the work you're doing relative to Ward 5, and I will probably just file the order again for the radar feedback to the police department, because it was a year ago that that other one was there, so I'll just do that. So thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Baker. Councilor Will Puello?
Thanks, Mr. Chairman. Just to clarify, we took up all these as a package, right?
Yeah, for discussion, they will be voted differently. Like they won't all be tabled or they won't all be voted together as a package, though. It would be separate.
Thanks. So I have some questions for the engineer. I read through the memo and I read all the points that he made. I really appreciate him taking the time to write all this stuff. So on item 18, the traffic light. And
Wait, real
the
quick,
speed
Will.
bumps.
We're
Yep.
gonna kind of go through the items one by one. If you want, we can start with 18.
Oh, okay. Yeah, my bad, Mr. Chairman. Yeah, I thought that's why I was just making sure that you guys took it up all as a package.
Yeah,
I can
now
wait.
we're gonna go
Put my
through
hand
them
up.
one by one because he's kind of made like summarizations of what his responses are. But if you want, we can
Yeah.
start with 18 and then go back. We'll start with 18 if you want and go ahead and ask your questions.
That's okay. I'll wait my turn. I'll wait my. Thanks, Izzy. I appreciate it. I'll wait my turn.
Oh, I mean, all right, that's cool. So we'll start with item 1, filed by Anderson Burgos. Order that the city engineer evaluate and make suggestions to address the speeding on Beach Street, specifically the stretch between Portland and Linden Street. The residents that live on the side streets are concerned when turning onto Beach Street. As a side note, the Holyoke High School is across the street, and this makes the session a hazard to students as well as a pedestrian.
I think the only thing I wanted to mention here, so I do want to collect speed and traffic count data here. This is a tough one because it's a 4-lane stretch, so there's not going to be a lot of options that we have. I do also want to add that the Beach Resnick light, although it's kind of further away from those roads, may have some impact, especially if it goes into the roundabout concept. Is this what Mass DOT is talking about at this point? So. That may have some impact that far out, but yeah, I'll be collecting speed and traffic count data at that location.
So for this one, would we like to table it, or do we?
So this one, because
If I may-
Counselor Anderson Burgos. So hold on a second. Time out. Everybody's just jumping in the meeting now. So let me recognize Counselor Anderson Burgos, and let me also recognize Counselor Tessa Murphy Ramboletti. Go ahead, Counselor Anderson Burgos.
Yeah, so if I read correctly, the public will be able to weigh in once they're at, Mass DOT is at the 25% concept level. Is that correct?
That's correct. Yeah, there'll be a public meeting at that point. It'll be a stakeholders meeting, so there will be public comment.
Okay, so I don't feel that there's a reason to even table this.
Okay.
Because now that I know that at the 25% concept level, we'll be able to weigh in as a community, there's no need for this order to be there. We already know that the traffic issues that lie between the 4-way stretch there. And what my hopes are is that once this is completed in 2027, I know that's a stretch away, but in 2027, that'll all be taken care of. Due to the design, but I really, I would love to be there during that discussion because they really need to focus whatever that design is going to look at, that the 4-way stretch is all being considered.
Thank you. So then I guess this order is complied with.
Yes,
Make a motion
please,
that's
thank you.
being complied
And
with.
any other order that is on that stretch, because I think there's a few that are sprinkled throughout this agenda. Thanks.
All right then. So then this order, second.
I seconded.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
So agenda item
So do you
1.
want to just take these up one at a time now?
Because they're not all the same.
Motion to take up item 2.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we already motioned them all for discussion.
Oh, I
On
see.
to
I see.
item.
Yeah.
Now
on
we're
to-
going through
yeah,
them individually.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Item 2 was filed by former Councilor Libby Hernandez. Ordered reach out to DPW HPD to conduct a traffic study for the area, corner of Pineapple Street, due to high-speed travel and constant running of the stop sign. Residents are concerned and have suggested that camera could assist police department in identifying violators. In addition, there is a problem with constant parking of vehicles in the alleyways between Pine and Walnut on the Appleton side street, in which they conduct mechanical work. And in summertime, this is illegal. Parked vehicles are utilized as launching pads for fireworks. So on a this is a 2-part order, feels like, and then the second part kind of doesn't apply to you. So I will probably reach out to Councilor Hernandez, former Councilor Hernandez, and see if it's still an issue, and then file the second part with regards to bringing in the police for that piece. But you could speak on
Okay,
that first.
great. Yeah. My suggestion here is on Pine on the approach, either doing a second stop sign on the left-hand side so that it's more visible. So that's basically doubling up the signage. The other option would be to go to the larger 36-inch sign, stop sign, or install a solar-powered flashing LED at this location. So I think any of those. I mean, I think doubling up the stop signs might be a first cut at trying to solve this, and then we could move
I'll go
on
with
from
yours.
there
I'll
to
go whatever
LED
you
if
suggest.
the problem's not solved.
I think that we would probably go what you would suggest because
Okay,
you're the-
I would recommend, yeah, doing a double up stop sign
Okay,
and
so-
installing a second sign at that location.
So yeah, we're,
So a motion to approve the request of a double stop sign at the location?
second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Item 3 was filed by Councilor Bartley. Due to concerns at Metcalf School, ordain right turn only when exiting the parking area. It says it is understood that this sign was installed and this item was complied with, but I'll allow Councilor Bartley to speak on it if there's anything he would like to add to it.
No, I think there's a sign there now.
Okay.
I don't think it was ordained though.
Oh, okay. So,
I'm okay with the way it is.
okay, perfect. Item 3 is complied with.
So motion that's been complied with.
Second? All in favor?
Aye.
Item 4, filed by former Councilor Libby Hernandez, ordered intersection at West Franklin and Linden has a crosswalk that is routinely ignored, creating a dangerous circumstance for our pedestrians. Can a study be conducted to place flashing lights or middle signage that creates urgency to stop for pedestrians? Traffic needs to slow down in our city. Chris.
Okay, on this one, so yeah, like I said, this is
Oh, you spoke.
an intersection that is on the top 200 state list. So I do want to take a look at this one. Most likely the accidents alone would warrant it for an all-way stop. So that's kind of the direction. I haven't looked into it in detail, but that's the direction I'm going to pursue. So yeah, there's already a raised crosswalk. So we'll look at the all-way stop, and in conjunction with that, we might look at some bulb outs. But in order to, the thing that would be the fastest to implement would be the all-way stop. So I think that's the direction. So if that's, that was kind of in my introduction. That's really a top priority intersection at this point.
So then it's okay if we leave it tabled until it's addressed?
Sure.
Okay.
All right, so motion to table?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Item 4 is tabled. Item 5 is filed by former Councilor Hernandez. Order that Clinton and Dwight Street corner in need of crosswalk and some kind of bump out to keep cars from parking up to the corner, blocking visibility for pedestrians. Currently, pedestrians have to walk almost the middle of the street to see incoming traffic. Vehicles constantly park in the no parking zone, not being enforced nor ticketed.
Yep. So this one, I would recommend that we would install curb extensions at this location. That seems to be the best thing. Especially you're, really shortening the amount the pedestrian has to walk, and also making pedestrians more visible. But
That's also a
it's
school bus stop.
yeah, it's a dangerous corner for sure.
So then we would approve the recommendation. And
The problem with this is going to be funding.
yeah, I
So
understand
that's-
that. But so
So the recommendation is to install bulb outs.
so that's what I was gonna say. Is like approve the recommendation, but keep it tabled. Is that possible?
I don't,
Well,
Or-
I mean,
do we have to keep it tabled? Will it just happen once if funding becomes available? Or do we have to keep revisiting it?
Yeah, I guess a funding source does need to be identified. So however that happens.
So,
Go ahead, Councilor Bartley.
Yeah, just a recommendation, so I hope Todd will agree with me on this one. I think you should say it's been complied with, and then you can make a recommendation that full city council, that you refer it to the mayor to recommend funding. Okay, so in fact, Councilor McGee, remember 2013 when we did something very similar. Councilor McGee was very instrumental when we did something on Woodland Avenue. And so that was, because I didn't really know it at the time when I was first on the board, and that's how we got that funded for the drainage system on Woodland Avenue, if you recall, Todd. So, yeah.
All right, so I entertain a motion that the order is complied with and that it'll be referred to the mayor for funding.
Yep.
Second.
All in favor? Item 6 was also followed by Councilor Hernandez. Order that the crosswalk that was installed in Hamden Street next to the Stop and Shop to address our pedestrians, but most importantly our blind residents, is missing essential functions, and it would be most beneficial that a spring-loaded in-street pedestrian crosswalk sign be placed in the middle with lines repainted that instill urgency to the motorists that the need to stop, slow down, and allow our pedestrians to safely arrive to the other side. Currently, motorists continue to speed up the hill, ignoring the initial beep. It would be most beneficial to have a light such as that in South Street in the front of Elmwood Towers. Motorists that do stop to yield to pedestrians are most of the times almost rear-ended by other speeding motorists, and at times they try to dodge the stop vehicle. Unsafe atmosphere for pedestrians that are now obliged to step back out of the way. That was a long one.
Yeah, so I do agree with you. This is also a very dangerous corner. It's a long walk across the street. It's up a hill. It's around a turn. So RRFBs were installed as a mitigation measure there. I'm not sure how well those are working. As I discussed in item 5, we could do bulb outs here. Both the pedestrian hybrid beacon, so that's what you're talking about with just a stop. There's also a newer, what's called a Hawk. The one I can think of it has essentially 3 lights. There's one on the rail trail in Northampton on Damon Road. I don't know if you've been by there, but it's a rail trail crossing, so it's a little more prominent, and that's kind of the newer way of doing things. But even the old style pedestrian beacons, those ones are, let me see, around 70. I don't forget what that's 75,000, and the other ones are. There's the Hawk. Yeah, I think that's 75,000 just for the beacon, the overhead light, essentially. So it's.
Go ahead, Councilor Vega. Councilor Givner.
So item 26 was also filed by Councilor Tallman and myself regarding, because the problem there is that there's blind residents, and so there's no actual light. So the blind residents don't get a sound, because clearly you would want to look before you walk out there, even if lights are flashing and stuff. So I guess we're kind of wondering what the solution is for something like that, for a blind resident living there.
Yeah, the way that, so really lights are not usually installed for individual residents or, traffic measures like that, because people move around, and usually the warrants are based on pedestrian volumes, and then it should be safe for everyone. So kind of the idea is anything you install should be ADA accessible, safe for everyone. You would have chirping sounds on the newer pedestrian lights. So having said that, I do understand the concern there. We can do that. It's just a matter of money.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of funding. I'm happy to implement whatever the council wants if we can identify a funding source for it. So I don't know if the bulb outs are a little less. It might, that, and then, having the RRFBs in conjunction with that.
Yeah, because there's been a few deaths there, not of the blind, but it's been a couple deaths. One person was in a wheelchair. It's pretty dangerous section there, and it goes to the grocery store.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah, no, I definitely see the issue.
So I guess, yeah. Oh, go ahead, Councilor Bartley.
Yeah, just to chair to the engineer, is there signage there relative to telling motorists that there's a blind person in the area? I don't recall there is any signage. So I'm going to recommend that the Ward 4 councilor consider filing an order that to implement, to have the DPW installed, which is very similar to what we have on Westfield Road in between Woodland and Hitchcock.
Okay.
So that would be the way to do that. And you might want to put 2 signs on both sides of the street since it's a
Yeah.
one way. So,
Did drive by there. I thought there, maybe, can you check it out? I think
there
there
might be
is
one.
one. I think it might be one of the older styles. Maybe we could replace it with a more visible one. Yeah. Yeah, and it might be a little too far back from the actual crossing. So we can definitely do that. So I guess do you want to pursue the light, or do you want to just pursue signage and potentially bulb outs if there's funding?
Yeah, this is you now, so.
I think the bulb outs and better signage is,
Okay.
is a good idea. And for me to start by double checking that the sign I think is there is still there.
Yeah.
And thank you, Counselor Bartley, for that.
no problem.
So,
Do you want to take up items 6 and 26 as a package to vote on?
That sounds like a good idea.
second. All in favor?
Okay.
And then
6.
they're complied with.
Sorry, I couldn't hear the motion.
So the motion is that item 6 and item 26 get taken up as a package. And we're gonna motion that both are complied with
Based on the recommendation.
based on the recommendation of the city engineers, right? And then what we forwarded to the mayor for same thing,
Yeah,
for funding?
that paper.
Okay.
Second.
All in favor?
Okay.
Item 7 was filed also by former Councilor Libby Hernandez in conjunction with Councilor Tallman, order that DPW and Holy Police Department provide an update on what the agreement with when the Dunkin' Donuts was built as to designate certain parking spaces for Eddie's Furniture located on 865 Hannah Street to allow their delivery and large cargo vehicles to have the necessary clearance to enter and exit safely from their lot. As it stands, there are provisional handwritten no parking signs posted on the cones that continually be taken down, thus preventing their business to function properly. It was tabled to 260 and 22, it looks like, and then it says, per Jeff Burkott, this agreement was discussed but never formally approved by either party. So,
Yeah, that's so I talked with Jeff Burkott in planning about it, and I mean it's private property, so it would have been negotiated between the abutting owners, and his understanding was that they did discuss it, but nothing was ever. I guess the way the phasing was on the lot, the phase 2 was never constructed. The other development that they wanted to do on the Dunkin' Donuts property, so
okay.
there's not much that the city can do about this at this point. Yeah.
So then this order is complied with, I would assume.
Motion has been complied with.
Second.
All in favor?
Okay.
Aye.
Item 8, filed by former Councilor Libby Hernandez, Councilor Tallman, and former Councilor Murphy, ordered a study to address a possible right turn only lane on Hamden. Right turn only onto Pleasant is the goal.
I also filed the same order not too long ago.
Okay.
It's probably somewhere.
It might be in here somewhere, and I'll just refer back to
It was exactly the same.
So I have a couple thoughts about this. Obviously, we need to do some study and design because the traffic signal permit has timing associated with it that would likely change if we did that. My concern there would be the queue length on Hamden Street getting excessively long and changing the level of service through the light because there's more through traffic than there is right-hand turn traffic. And then I did look at the accident data. So there have been 15 total accidents in the last 3 years, and I just made, to make it on the top 200 state list. The cutoff was 27 accidents in the last 3 years. So that's, it's not that there's no accidents there, but it's not close to the top 200. And then we also are planning to replace that light. There's 2 more signals that have not been finished as part of the 14 or the 11 that we were doing. But this is not something I would probably recommend because I just don't think that I think it's going to cause a detrimental impact on the amount of time it takes to go through. Yeah.
Counselor Givner.
Thanks. Just to Chris. So I noticed that recently there have been added 2 signs that show that Hamden turns into 1 lane. I'd like to note that Hamden is already 1 lane coming up the hill. Then it turns into 2 lanes where people die crossing the street to go to Stop and Shop. Then it turns back into 1 lane to go to the highway all the way up. So I'm not really concerned as much about the traffic, even though I probably should be, but would it make more sense for there to be a right turning lane and straight lane and a left turning lane instead? Because it really doesn't make sense. The bottlenecking and the traffic really comes from the bottlenecking there. And the accidents are caused because people think they can pass each other when there's only like, in your ward, Counselor Vacant, where there's only like a couple feet, and suddenly people are like, oh, now is my chance to pass this person and save 2 minutes in my life.
Yeah, I understand. So that's something that can be looked at.
I guess I'm wondering if you're looking at other solutions for that corner anyway, just because I see signs going up that say now both sides go into 1 lane instead of before it just said that the right was going to come into the left. This just happened by someone put this up recently.
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't always know.
But if there's like a light going up, I guess I'm just wondering if there's some kind of study around the light, or if they're just going to automatically
it's just
put in a new
replacing the
light.
hardware. Yeah, it's replacing
Oh,
the
okay.
signal equipment,
All right.
not changing the functionality of the intersection.
I see.
But yeah, it's something that can be looked at. Intersection studies are about $8,000. So it's something, because we would look at it going, all the way up the hill, the 2 lanes to 1 lane, actually running a synchro model to figure out what the impact would be.
It seems like it might be worth it because there's a new church on that corner. There's White Hut coming in. The Dunkin' Donuts is relatively new, so there's new things there. Woodstone is newly open, so that's something.
Yep. So yeah, again, it's just something I probably wouldn't recommend using Chapter 90 for. So it's a matter of where does the funding come from? Because I don't know how much.
So it sounds like we need a brand new
budget,
order
but-
because this is an old order.
Yeah.
And all these old orders are very specific about a turning lane, but we really need a study of that whole corner.
Yeah, that's what
Okay.
I would recommend, doing an engineering study of that. I mean, we also could do it and kind of incorporate in, instead of doing bulb outs, maybe actually really look at that going all the way up the hill.
So
the
from
crossing, maybe make a different crossing at Stop and Shop. Fix, do something to improve the light.
So basically that whole weird 2-lane.
Yeah,
Block.
whole corridor up. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
So if you'd like to do that, yeah, I just don't have a funding source for that. If there was money, there's a couple line items in the engineer's budget sheet that don't have any funding in it, but for engineering professional services, and if they did, this is something that we could do with it. So just
So for now, go ahead, Counselor Bartley.
Just through the chair to the engineer. Chris, you've got capitalized in this answer the citywide traffic signal replacement project.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a misnomer, but it is the 11 signals, 9 of which are completed. So there's Appleton, there's a couple on Hamden. The ones that remain are Dwight and Pleasant and Lincoln and Pleasant. Yeah.
So, just to the chair, so would you be gracious enough just to send a communication to the city council relative to the status, and then an update as it goes forward?
Sure.
And you could just send it to Jeff and file as a communication in response to this meeting. Keep us posted. And this is funded by Mass DOT, I'm going to guess?
No, it's not. It was an appropriation.
It's an appropriation.
City appropriation. Yeah.
A city appropriation.
Yeah, we
There
bonded.
was a
for it.
bond.
Bond.
I think
Okay.
it was during Terry Murphy,
Yeah,
probably.
so very good. Yeah, so I just want to get just kind of be kept updated on that, where we are.
Sure.
That'd be
No
very
problem.
helpful. Thank you.
So for the sake of item 8, it sounds like for now it's complied with, and you're going to file an order.
It's complied with, and then we'll file a new order for
Okay, so
study and see if we can find funding for it.
second.
All right, second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Item 9 was filed by Councilor McGee and Councilor Tallman. Order that DPW repair sidewalks on Hampden Street near 8 William Street. And there's a response from.
Okay, yeah, just so everyone knows, we are keeping a comprehensive list of sidewalk requests that come in, and we prioritize them and make note of what potential funding sources could be used to fix these sidewalks. That's not really the way I want to do it. So we're seeking funding to actually do a citywide sidewalk condition study and ADA transition study as part of our what will be, a building transition study for ADA compliance. So that's for sidewalk ramps. So ahead of that being funded, which will really be a better and more efficient tool to deal with our sidewalks and what should be prioritized around really critical infrastructure that we have. This is the way it's being done. And so we have a comprehensive list. We're basically complete with a project that was city funded, where funding could be used anywhere in the city, and we are now back to CDBG funding. So it's only eligible census tracts, and it has to also be eligible land uses even within. It's not anything within those census tracts. It has to be a residential use.
There's the thing with the CDBG thing that's unique to me, right? That I noticed at Ian White, they use CDBG money to rebuild the park, right? And they use the students, the population or the demographic of the students that attended the school. Would you be able to do the same concept on the streets, because people are using those streets from the same demographic?
Kind of. Playgrounds are a little different.
Okay.
So sometimes it kind of depends. Like we were able to do near Save-A-Lot, even though it wasn't a residential use leading up to that, we were able to convince them to do that sidewalk because residents use it to shop.
Right.
So there's sometimes is the answer.
Okay.
It really depends where it is.
Because I see, like, for example, if I'm just going to say, like, the sidewalk along Mayor Field on the beginning part, right? So, like, people go to McMahon School that that live in the CDBG and catchment zone. Mm-hmm. I'm not saying they're walking there, but, like, you could use I guess, I don't know. I'm stretching it.
Yeah,
but at the end of the day,
every single location goes to the OCD office and gets reviewed and through the HUD guidelines. So it gets reviewed in detail. So it's a total case by case.
Perfect. Thank you.
Can I just add to that?
Councilor Vagan first, and then I got you, Mr. Bartley.
Thanks. So I know this is a little off topic because we're talking about the downtown, but we did have a conversation about everything in Ward 5 almost is old asphalt. Mm-hmm. And so we had a conversation about how those could be addressed. And I'm trying to look at the worst and send the information over to Chris. But in terms of funding, I guess it would become part of this master plan.
It would become part of the comprehensive plan, yeah.
Okay.
I mean, we're gonna try and look at really as many as we can with the budget that we have with the consultants. So, and it's gonna basically be integrated into our online pavement management system. So we'll have both a sidewalk management system and a pavement management system on the same platform.
Okay.
So then we'll be able to more efficiently manage.
So, and on a technical question through the chair, so when I'm going around looking at these sidewalks, like a lot of them have cracks and grass growing up, but they're not necessarily 3 or 4 inch cracks. Mm-hmm. They might be relatively small. Mm-hmm. But so if I'm going along doing my walking route and noting things down, like what is notable? Like
I think what you should do is give us a list, and then we basically go out and assess them.
So I'll just say crack with grass.
If you could look at this section of road from this street to this street.
So what I've been doing is going house by house and saying in front of this, that.
Okay.
4 of these with that, or whatever.
Okay, we'd probably do, with the asphalt sidewalks, we'd probably do long stretches, just so you know, so longer stretches, because it's much cheaper than concrete, so.
So then I'm trying to say, this seems worse.
Yeah, so I would give intersections or mile markers. as best you can. Because we're not going to do like between one house and then not, and then, we're not going to skip around with asphalt.
Right.
Like we do with
So
concrete.
So what would be a thing, like a quarter of a mile? Or?
Something like that, yeah.
Okay. I'm not that great with distance, but.
All set, Councilor Regan? Inside or
I'll
outside?
put my little thing on my phone.
Councilor Bartley?
Thank you.
I just want to point out, just through the chair, just two things that we've done really right recently, and I think they should be used as templates going forward. So I'm following up on what both councilors just talked about. Let's start with one first, which is Mayor Field. Talk about a home run.
Yep.
That's something we only worked on since 2015, but ultimately got done. But you look at what happened there. There's 2 raised crosswalks. This is working hand in hand with Terry Murphy. Just was able to really implement John Tuig and some others. So there's 2 raised crosswalks crossing over, Westfield Road, with wards 3 and 5, and so those have really had a positive impact on motorists and on pedestrians, because you've got those pedestrian solar power signals. I see them used every single day. I drive up there every single day. And then you look at the park itself.
Beautiful.
I mean, that's a winner. And that whole neighborhood now is changing. It's actually getting younger.
Mm-hmm.
That neighborhood, both sides of the street are getting a lot younger, and a lot more families are coming in. I'm seeing it on a regular basis. So that park's getting a lot. You should have gone up there Saturday. It was
Yeah.
triple-digit people in
I
that
think
park.
somebody wanted to tear the park down.
Really?
Yeah, on CPA.
I don't-
Former Mayor Pluta. She said they should get rid of the park
Well, look,
altogether, and I was like, no.
I don't know anything about that, but the thing is, and that's start out with a constituent, reach out to me in 2014, 2015, and brought it to Todd, some others, and so ultimately here we are. So that's a winner. On the sidewalk part, look what we did relative to I-391 interchange. So at High Street, and that ought to be a template for getting things done and how we address problems. I mean, look how well we did. It took a non-sidewalk or a crumbling sidewalk, and what Linda just said, the asphalt sidewalks, which I filed an order on that just recently relative to something on Queen Street. Not a high trafficked area, it's not high priority, and the residents aren't all wound up about it, but everywhere around them, I mean, they have an immaculate house. So the front of it is a regular concrete, and the west side is a rumbly asphalt. So, I mean, it makes a difference, and really for conscientious homeowners, it really makes them feel good that the city's on top of it. So those would be just 2 sidebars. Thank you.
Thank you. So for this item, it sounds like complied with until
Complied with, make a motion that's complied with.
second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Item 10 was filed by Councilor Anderson Burgos earlier that the DPW changed the size of the no turn on red signs located on the corner of Hillside Ave and Cherry Street. The current signs are too small, making drivers unaware of them.
Now, Mr. Chair, can I speak to that? Is Juan Anderson Burgos online still?
It looks like he is. Go ahead, Councilor Bartley, if you want to say something.
Yeah, I agree with them. So they're very small, and they're unusually small. So I see the recommendation by the engineer. So DPW can replace the typical smaller sign with a larger one if directed by the council. I think Councilor Anderson Burgos and I would both agree
Yeah.
that I don't think you have to make a mega. I think 48 inches is probably a little bit beyond our scope. But I would, and I don't know if this is a top 200 crash site, but if it isn't, to tell you, try crossing the street there and as a pedestrian, and good luck. So it's a dangerous intersection nevertheless, and having those signs be a little bit larger, I think would be helpful.
Okay. Yeah, I guess we should go and make sure they actually are the standard size to begin with. That it's the 24 by 30, and then we can go up from there. But if you're saying it looks that small, I wonder if it's not standard. I didn't look at it myself.
I didn't
so.
measure it, but they
So, yeah,
look pretty
if
tiny.
it's-
Look
yeah.
unusually tiny.
So we should check it first, and then
All right.
we
then-
can
then
go
you
up.
just-
We can go up in
you-
size.
You do what's right, and I'm sure it'll work out.
So motion will be that you're gonna head out, check it out,
Yeah.
and see if it's standard size, and then you'll make a decision on what's right.
Yeah, we'll go. It'll be bigger.
Go big.
Yeah.
Can we,
Go ahead, Counselor.
yeah, sorry. Can we still motion that it's complied with, but send it, once it's coming out of committee and into city council, we can, as council, we can just adopt it right there and then, no?
Can't you adopt the engineer's
Yeah,
recommendation?
motion.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. So
The recommendation of larger signs.
Second.
Yeah, we don't, no need
Oh,
to
no.
table it, and come back and just.
no, I
I'd
wasn't
rather
gonna
have-
table.
No.
All in favor?
Aye.
So the order is complied with, and approve the city engineer's recommendation.
Motion to, yeah,
Okay.
motion to adopt that.
Perfect, thank you.
Perfect. Give me a second. Let me write that down, because then there's a lot to report out for a full council. Item 11, filed by also Councilor Anderson Burgess, ordered that the sidewalk in front of 211 West Franklin Street be repaired. The roots from the tree in front of the house has raised the sidewalk, making it difficult to transport their disabled child. City engineer response says that this location has been added to the comprehensive list. Then it says, see item 9, comments on sidewalk, which we already spoke on. Councilor Anderson Burgos, before I allow Chris to speak on it, you have any other comments?
Yeah, I read where our engineer wrote funding will be sought from, one of the funding options, to seek it from Municipal Americans with Disability Act grant. And I think that would fit this situation, especially since the child is disabled. And also on top of that, what would the steps that we would need to take to either file or apply for that grant?
So just to clarify, unfortunately, that grant is a planning grant, so that would just be funding the condition assessment and the ADA transition plan and not the actual construction component. So at this time, we only have construction money out of CDBG. But if this is, I can go look at it, and it's possible that we could mill down some of the areas if it's, just panels that have popped, that we may be able to make it a level surface before we're actually able to replace it. So I can look at
Yeah,
that.
yeah, please take a look, and if time allows, I would love to meet with you there, and so we can go over the options.
Okay.
Thank you. So this one, if it's okay with the committee, I would like to table.
Yeah, I was gonna say that.
Yeah, please, thank you.
Let's join the motion to table this item.
Table.
Second.
All in favor? Item 11 is tabled. Item 12 was filed by Councilor Bartley, that the DPW fully plow, sand, salt, all of Ogden Street, receive, adopt, refer to DPW with copy to public. So this has been complied with already. You have any comments on this, Councilor Bartley? So I guess,
So complied with?
yep.
Motions to comply.
Second.
All in favor? Item 13 was filed by Councilor Puello, order that the city engineer draft the cost and feasibility of installing 2 raised crosswalks on Main Street adjacent to Springdale Park. I guess Councilor Puello, I'll give, if you're still, you're still here. Give you the floor for a few before I turn it over to Chris.
Thanks, Mr. Chairman. He can go first. I mean,
All right.
thanks.
Go ahead, Chris.
Okay, so this location is kind of in flux right now. I know that the residents are in favor of replacing the signal that was damaged. That signal, unfortunately, was very outdated, so we can't even use the existing electrical. So really, it's almost like an entire new signal has to go in at that location in order to replace it. So that's kind of what we're dealing with. The cost estimate is somewhere in the $200,000 to $260,000 range. at the moment, so we did do a signal warrant analysis with traffic counts, and a signal is not warranted. So I was not in favor of replacing this signal. I understand the residents are, so we don't have a decision that's been made as far as which direction we're going. There is a project in the works called the Springdale Corridor Project that's using Mass Trails grant money. They're at a 10% design. The plan there, that's the terminus of the project. And the plan is to do a raised intersection. I know they have one of these on Route 5 in Northampton down Pleasant Street. It's basically the entire intersection is at a vertical, like 3 inches raised, so it creates a safe intersection. So at this point, my recommendation is to turn the intersection into a stop intersection at Vernon and use the Mass Trails project for the Springdale corridor to do a raised intersection in the future there. In the meantime, we can put RFBs in or something like that as kind of a stopgap measure before the raised intersection goes in. But I think this one, this is not going to be figured out today. I just want to give you the information, but I would recommend it be tabled until a decision can be made about the signal, but probably tonight is not we're going to spend, half an hour debating a signal at this location. So if we could just table it, but I just wanted everyone to kind of know, the different costs and about that other project. So
Totally get it. Councilor Boyle.
Thanks a lot, Mr. Chairman. I appreciate you. And thanks to Chris. I read over this memorandum. I really appreciate you. Just real quick, did I hear you said to turn it into a 4-way stop sign?
No, Main Street would be a throughway, and Vernon would be a stop at the end of Vernon.
Okay. Do you think that maybe that's something that could be explored? Because I think the main concern with citizens is coming out of that intersection at Vernon. Like they have to stop, but then I think the problem is vehicles on Main are going too fast, and then there's a blind spot there. That's literally the problem that everyone has, is that they can't see pulling out of Vernon. So I don't know if maybe if we make it a 4-way, if that's a much cheaper way to fix this thing that everybody's complaining about. And I wanted to ask you about the light. Can you tell us why? Like if this light was there, I get it's old, and I just don't understand why we need to replace the sidewalk, replace literally everything else. You know what I'm saying? Why?
Yeah. So it's essentially if you substantially upgrade an intersection, you have to make sure that it's ADA accessible. That is the state regulation. So it's kind of like if you substantially upgrade a building, for instance, you have to make it ADA accessible. It's similar with traffic intersections. So we wouldn't be upgrading this entire light without making all of the curb ramps and everything ADA accessible, which it's not currently.
Wow.
So that's why everything has to be replaced up to the current standards.
That's wild.
Thanks. Yeah, that makes sense.
Go ahead. Yeah, I was going to say.
I just.
Go ahead, Counselor.
I was going to say, it's frustrating. I wish we could just, this broke, let's fix it. You know what I mean? It just sucks that there's so many other components to it. But I guess I understand, too. ADA, it's important.
Yeah, and unfortunately, the way the light was hit, the cabinet got knocked down the street 25 feet, and it's a really old light. So it's kind of an unfortunate coincidence of just the age of the light and then how it was hit. It just couldn't be repaired.
Okay, that was all I was
Yeah.
just clarify.
So and are you all set, Miss Councilor Puello?
Thanks a lot, Mr. Chairman. Yeah, I really appreciate Chris. I think it'd be great. Yeah, tabling it would be awesome to see. I would really, really appreciate if maybe we could look into turn it into a 4-way and just get, if we get everybody to stop, then I can see maybe everybody at Vernon being oh, okay, cool. I agree with that too. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's a really good idea.
It's just interesting for me that it's kind of you just used the reference of the buildings, and that's the first thing that came to my mind was certain buildings are grandfathered in to not have to upgrade their fire suppression system, right? But if they do any major repairs, they have to do that. So it's just kind of the same concept for a light. That's cool.
Just it got wrecked.
It's crazy. So for For this
One more thing?
Go ahead, Councilor Bartley.
Yeah,
Sorry.
if I may, because I don't want it to just slip by what the city engineer said. You notice the city engineer talked about Mass DOT working on a project. So I'm glad all the councilors are here to hear about this. So this is something you cannot let slip by you. So this is a radical change from the West Springfield Holyoke City line back south through Springdale to Vernon Street, Springdale Park. That is going to be a massive change if it is approved, and it has to be approved by this body. Now, we're at 10% design, meaning we got a long way to go. But we've already accepted grant monies for this at the recommendation of Chris's predecessor. We did it twice, and Chris has been back in as well. It's a radical change. I'm not saying I'm for it, I'm not saying I'm against it, but I'm saying just please be aware, when you have to shut down one full lane of traffic on the Holyoke portion in front of the former Providence Hospital to make this project a reality for cyclists to connect basically to nowhere. I'm just saying, please be very cautious going forward with this project. That was a project that Chris referred to, and it's going to have a huge change on the corridor, and they have not convinced me that they're not going to eliminate a ton of parking spaces on Main Street for the residents in that corridor. So I know the Ward 2 councilors are aware of it, and but I want other at-large councilors and other councilors to be aware. This is a huge project with a significant change. So just please don't let it slip by. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Bartley. So,
This one was to table,
yeah.
so motion to table.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Item 14 was also filed by Councilor Puello. Order that the city engineer draft feasibility and associated costs of raised crosswalk adjacent to 401 Main Street.
So
That makes sense.
This is included in the project that we have for 3 locations of raised crosswalks on Main Street that we got cannabis impact funding for. So that would be between Cabot and Spring, at the Spring Street intersection, and then at Hamilton. So those are we should be constructing those either later this year or early next year.
So motion complied with?
Yeah, it's complied with.
All in favor?
Aye.
Did Will have anything now? on it?
Yeah, I was gonna say that. Councilor Puello, do you have any comments on 14? Even though we kind of already complied with it.
No, I'm good. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thanks to Chris for filing for that, for the approval for that cannabis impact fee. I guess, actually, I'm reading it over now. I guess, I don't know, my only comment would be, I wish that a lot of these other projects would have cannabis impact fee funding. Like, in my mind, at the beginning of last year, we were gonna fund a lot more of these traffic improvement projects with this cannabis money, and I know everybody's thinking about the schools and other things. I mean, I don't know, I'm not sure if that's legal, but I just really wish that a lot of these other traffic improvement projects that aren't funded right now could be funded with that cannabis money. Thank you.
And then I would say, Councilor Puello, thank you for filing this order. It's actually, I'm not to say actually makes sense, but it makes perfect sense. Item 15, filed by Anderson Burgos, Jourdain, and Councilor Puello. Order that the Public Safety Committee invite in relevant departments to address safety concerns at the intersection of Beach Street and West Franklin Street. The resident recently lost their life crossing the street, and other residents have also expressed concerns. What can prevent future tragedies? What are the state's plans and timeline? What can be done in the meantime?
So I think we talked about this before, but this is also a top 200 intersection, and Mass DOT has undertaken both the design, paying for the design and construction for the reconstruction of this intersection. What form it's taking is, city has some input at this level, but it is a Mass DOT project. So at the 25% design level, there will be time for public input, and it is on the tip for 2027.
Perfect. So this one sounds like it's complied with as well.
Like,
Okay.
yep.
So entertain a motion that this order be complied with.
Motion has been complied with.
Second.
All in favor? Item 17 was 40. Wait, 16?
16.
16.
Okay, my bad. So item 16 was filed by Councilor Murphy Ramboletti, ordered that the city engineer look into whether installation of a traffic light at the intersection of 141 and Bemis Road is necessary in order to mitigate traffic concerns and potential accidents.
So this one, we did do a traffic intersection study at this location, based on the 8 warrants that you need to recommend a signal, and it was not met. None of the 8 warrants were met at this location, so signal. I'm not recommending a signal. That's kind of.
Councilor Murphy Ramboletti, would you like to speak on this order?
No, that's helpful. I appreciate the time that had to go into that.
Thank you.
I did include the full analysis too, Tessa, if you want to see it in the packet.
Thank you.
One of the attachments has all of the data and determinations for it.
Thank you so much.
Mr. Chair?
Go ahead, Councilor Bartley.
Yeah, I would say, just to the chair, to the maker of the order, I would say that even though the city engineer has not supported this, I think it's a valid attempt to try to get to a result that we all want to see, which is trying to deal with crazy motorists driving up 141, going up to the log cabin. So my recommendation is to contact Captain Cruz as often as you can and get a police cruiser there as often as Captain Cruz can have one deployed.
So you mean
Motion has been complied with.
complied with, and then
Second.
give me 1 second. I'm trying to figure out what Bartley said. That's a separate thing, right?
Yeah, I'm just making a comment.
Okay.
That's,
All
yeah,
right. So then,
editorial.
perfect. Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Item 16 is complied with. Item 17, filed by Councilor Anderson Burgos, ordered that the police department provide the city council with a report of the intersections with the highest rates of accident. A discussion of safety concerns would be helped by having a broader picture of problem areas instead of discussing individual issues. Here it says that the item is referred to HPD. We don't have HPD present at the moment, but there's also a comment that states, additionally, Mass DOT provides a top crash locations map. Data is obtained from state and local police reports, and the registration motor crash data is maintained by the RMV and interactive map crash portal. So, real quick, because you kind of stated that, would that be something somebody from one of the people from our departments could get from that site, is what you're saying, pretty much?
Yeah, that's just a public site, so you're welcome to go on there. They also have pedestrian clusters, and there's a lot of information, more than just the crash locations on there. So I think it's a good site. The data, Mass DOT also provides publicly all of the crash data. You can download it for the last 20 years from Holyoke, and you can look at that. So that's what I do when someone asks about an intersection. I just go look at that data. So that's something that anyone can do if the police aren't able to provide you with the statistics you want. I'd be happy to send you that Excel sheet, and I can show you where to download it so you can get the most up-to-date information as well.
Councilor Anderson Burgos?
Yes, thank you. Please send me that express sheet if you can. So the purpose for this order was simply to identify problematic intersections, streets, you name it, so that way we can start looking at redesigning or rethinking how either putting up new lights or to address the high impact areas. I'm curious to know though, since this is available to the public, does Mass DOT look at high crash sites and wonder, hey, let's redo this intersection because there seems to be a lot of accidents here? How do they go about that? Do they use that data to improve our own city streets?
Yes, that's correct. So for signalized intersections that are on the top 200 list, normally the city is obligated to design projects and then try and get it on the tip for the state to pay for. But for instance, the beach, Resnick, West Franklin, because that was on the top 200 list and it's a signalized intersection, Mass DOT is taken on the cost of redesigning that intersection and paying for the construction.
Got you. Okay. All right, well, that's good to know, and good information to know. Thank you.
So,
That complied with, thank you.
all right then.
This one,
Counselor Bartley.
yeah, just through the chair to Chris. Chris, could you forward all that, especially that link to
Yeah, the link.
to Jeff? And maybe Jeff would consider just posting that under
On the city website, right?
Good
the
call.
public safety
Public
page.
safety, yep.
If you would consider that, thank you.
Sure.
Because I didn't realize we could all look at it and it's available to the public. That'd be great. Thanks.
Entertain an order.
So complied with?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Item 18, filed by Councilor Anderson Burgos, order that the slow children at play signs be placed at both ends of Locust Street between West Franklin and Mackenzie Ave.
So these, just to note that these signs are no longer used. They haven't really been shown to be effective, and they're no longer in the MUTCD. So we're not able to put these up.
Councilor Bacon.
Just a question. So if, as an example, at the end of Bray Park and Evergreen, that's the sign that's there,
Yeah. Did you?
what could we replace that with?
Well, that was my recommendation at the meeting, wasn't it?
Well, we talked about yield, we talked about this
Yeah.
and that.
I think
but-
maybe I wrote that one up and it didn't get heard yet. But anyway, I was
it
going to
didn't
swap
happen?
that out with a stop sign. So
Okay,
yeah,
great.
we can
Just
talk
check.
about that when that happens. Yeah.
Nice.
But yeah, no, we're trying to remove those signs because children come and go and move into different places, and
wasn't sure.
it seems to imply that there aren't children other places, or
Right,
it
right,
confuses people, so
So-
they aren't being used anymore.
Councilor Anderson Burgos.
Thanks.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I already knew this information. I had this information. I'm not sure why it was tabled, but I would say that it's complied with, and based on the recommendations by the engineer, that we go throughout the city and start removing those. Because as he simply stated, you're implying that to the kids and to the parents that, oh, it's safe here because these signs are here, when they're really not, because we have drivers or people who are not paying attention to these signs. So we don't want that on our hands. So thank you.
Yeah, right.
Thank you for your input.
Thank you.
Motion that's been complied with.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Item 19 was filed by Councilor Bacon, order that.
Mr. Chairman?
Yep.
Can I ask that you take up item 19 and item 41 together, please?
Nice. Anytime. Take up item 19 and 41 as a
19 and
package.
41 as a package.
All in favor?
Aye.
19 is order that the city engineer evaluate the area of Cherry and Dale Streets for speeding calming measures, and that the PD enforce speed limits. Pedestrians and drivers are reporting drivers traveling at high speeds, failing to stop for the crosswalks, and causing dangerous situations for drivers entering Cherry Street from Dale and driveways on Cherry Street. And then 41, which is the last one, ordered that our city engineer recommend traffic calming measures on Whiting Farms Road. Constituents are reporting drivers operating their vehicles in an unsafe manner.
Oh, and if I'm sorry,
Sure.
28 apparently is the same as 41.
Amend to take up 19, 28, and 41 as a package.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
That's cool, because we
Thank
just
you.
killed 3 birds with one stone.
There you go.
So as I discussed in the introduction, these areas will be looked at as either part of the speed and vehicle counts or the more detailed intersection analyses.
So if I could understand a tentative timeline for when you think that might be updated, because these are areas where people are always saying, what have you done lately, right?
Yep. Yeah.
So at least if I could say, we think the study will be completed by, and
Yeah. So the speed counts and data will be collected in the fall. So I like October. It's kind of a good month for that, right before the winter. And the studies, I can get those underway soon. So they'll probably all be done as a package over the winter as well.
Okay.
So the fall into the winter.
So winter for recommendations?
Yeah.
Is this for all the traffic studies that are listed here and all?
Yeah, I'm going to try and package them together.
And
Yeah,
so we'll
to
just
save
depend
some.
on that coming out, so then these could be considered complied with,
Yes, that would be the idea.
as from my perspective.
No, I agree with you on that. I'm just waiting for the other counselors.
I didn't know if anyone else had a question.
I mean, if anybody else has any questions first, real quick.
There's no questions. Motion that all three have been complied with.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Item 20 was filed also by Councilor Reagan. Order that the radar speed feedback sign be placed on Cherry near the curve, Bowden Village side of the road, where approaching the intersection at Dale. Pedestrians have reported nearly being hit by drivers while in the crosswalk.
So,
Councilor
if
Reagan.
I may, I'm not sure if it happened or not, but it's a year later, so I'm just gonna file a new order.
I was going to say, I
Well,
could
let's
table it, but it would be good to follow the order so I
You
can
can
bring it.
call it complied with, and
Yeah.
I'll just pretend it's new and it happened. I'm not
All
sure
right,
if
then.
it did or not.
All right, perfect.
So 20 is complied with?
Yeah.
All right,
Second.
motion is that it's complied with.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Item 21, filed by Councilor Anderson Burris, order that the DPW install a raised crosswalk at the intersection of Linden Street and West Franklin Street. Vehicles coming down Linden are not coming to a complete stop. I think this is kind of in sync with what you spoke about earlier, right?
Yep. Yeah, this is really my top priority intersection. So it's the only unsignalized intersection on the top 200 list. So that's
Correct, if I may.
Yeah, go ahead, Councilor Anderson Burris.
Yeah, I mean, what it sounds like is the trouble starts at the intersection, right? Because it's congested there, so it's not allowing the traffic to flow naturally. And I think that's what's causing the backup and the issues that we're seeing on West Franklin coming down, making its way to the intersection. Am I correct, Chris?
I mean your analysis is probably right. I can't really say. I haven't stood out there to watch it.
Okay, so someone who lives right next door, yeah, I'm gonna say that's what I've experienced driving through there for the past 10 years, 12 years. So yeah, that was my conclusion.
Okay. Yeah.
So I'll entertain a motion. Go ahead, Councilor Anderson.
Yeah, the motion, if what I believe you're about to make is complied with, I would
Yes.
agree.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you.
Motion that this be complied with.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Number 21 is complied with. 22, filed by Councilor Maldonado Velez. Order that the city engineer study the intersection of Hamel Street and Main Street in the hopes of adding safety measures. Some problems at this intersection have been very dangerous to the cross the street, even, he's not lying, cross with the marked sidewalk, dangerous when taking a left from Hamilton onto Main Street, and any recommendations onto how to improve the safety on the intersection would be great. Councilor Maldonado Velez, you're present. I'll allow you to speak on this, but before you do, I believe some of this was already addressed in a prior item, on item 14, as it says on the paperwork that we got. So, Councilor Maldonado Velez.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. I had filed this order last year, just from, was actually speaking with one of the workers at Nueva and some of the volunteers down there. And since then I started actually working down on Main Street, and I've actually seen firsthand, like every day, how, yeah, we need to do something on that corridor. I know there's another order, I think it's 29 or 27, that also includes like other areas in that same, other streets in that same area. But I think one, definitely like repainting would be great, because you can't really, a lot of the paints on the street are worn off. But then, yeah, if there's anything else that can be done, it'd be great. I think a lot of people cross that street, one, just to go from South Holyoke to, High Street. Also, a lot of people crossing the streets to either get, like food distribution or go to any other businesses on Main Street. So it is a very walkable part of the city, and we just want to make sure that it's safe as possible. So,
Thank you, Councilman Maldonado Velez, and thank you for pointing out that 27 is similar. So I'm going to entertain a motion to amend the original. I don't even think I have to. I think I could take them both up because we already did the discussion thing. My bad.
Yeah.
Yeah. So 22 and then 27, we'll take them together as a package. I'll entertain a
That's
motion
fine, second.
to take them as a package. We
Yep.
can do that.
Yes.
Okay. Second, all in favor?
Aye.
And 27 was ordered that we install raised crosswalks or other calming measures on Main Street between Hamilton Street and Sergeant Street and Cabot Street. So again, just for the public, this is a topic that we spoke about on item 14, where the city engineer spoke about through, I believe it was CDBG or cannabis funding.
Cannabis funding, yeah.
That we will be installing raised crosswalks on Main Street and also doing bump outs, right?
No, just the three.
Just the
raised
crosswalks.
crosswalks, yep.
3 raised crosswalks to mitigate this issue.
Awesome.
So yeah, so that was 27 complied with, right? Entertain a motion that 22 and 27 are complied with.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Uh, 23 was filed by Councilor Bartley. Ordered due to neighbor concerns, city engineer review action reports at the intersection of Linden and Hampshire Streets if needed. Recommend. So
You want 32 too.
And 30.
I think we take it as a package with 32. Can you?
So a motion to take up 23 and 32 as a package for discussion.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
32 was ordered by, also filed by Councilor Bartley. Ordered that the DPW, HPD, and scene engineer report to City Council with its efforts to improve traffic safety at the corners of Linden Hampshire Streets and Linden Locust Streets as residents report speeding, accidents, and many instances of running the stop signs. Please produce any accident reports for the last 2 years of these intersections and send the communication. Receive, refer. Go ahead, Chris. It kind of says that you confirmed with Councilor Bartley about Linden Locust.
Yep, I did send the accident reports. They're attached also to the packet material, and just to mention also the corridor of Linden Street from Cabot to Mackenzie will be looked at as well. So I don't know if you have anything to add.
No, I think we can say it's complied with it pending further discussion. So that sounds good to me.
So that was 29 and what was the other one? 32? No?
I think it was 23.
31, I think it was.
3
23?
and 32.
I think it was 23 and
32.
Yeah, 32.
Okay. Entertain the motion that 23 and 32 are complied with.
Motion that they're being complied with.
All in favor?
Aye.
Let me do this real quick. So 24 was also filed by Councilor Bartley. Ordered that DPW repaint the crosswalk on Hillside Ave near Quaint. And then the comment is maintenance requests involving signs or pavement markings should be directed to the office manager at DPW to create a work order. So I believe we will approve, right? And then,
didn't we? Is there another step we're missing? Sorry.
no, go ahead.
There's another step.
So yeah, and I don't know if this could maybe be discussed in general, but maintenance items, I mean, I don't know if it's possible to not file an order for those types of things and just to make the DPW aware of them so that they can be turned into work orders instead of going fully through council, because it just creates a lot of paperwork.
I
Well,
think I already
for me.
filed an order to paint all
if
of
I
it,
may,
and I think it got sent to DPW.
Oh, my bad, Councilor Bartley. I thought you were already.
if I may, through the chair, now my friend Councilor McGee, when I first got on the board, do you know what he said to me? He said, I file the orders, I make the calls to them, but I file the orders just to cover myself. I'm not saying I'm covering myself, but I'm saying it's a way to tell the constituents in a public way that we've followed up. So I'm happy to call, in fact, I've called Public Works on this, but it hasn't been painted in 8 years. So I'm just hopeful that that by doing this, so listen, why don't we just say it's complied with? And then we'll recommend, as part of the compliance, that we'll forward this to the DPW scheduler for this, okay?
Okay, yeah. I just have to believe there's got to be a better way for things like this to not, it's obviously a lot of work for everyone when it's in order. So
Counselor Bacon, go ahead.
it's probably a
No, go ahead, and I'll get you.
discussion for another day too.
Counselor Givner, go ahead. I'm sorry. But she told me to let you go, so go ahead.
The response I got from DPW is that their funding ran out pretty early in the year. So even though it is ideal that they repaint annually, as needed, we can ask as much as we want, but if there's no money to do it, it just ends up on a list of things that need to be done. So that's it wasn't said like that, but the response I got had to do with funding.
Well,
Counselor Bacon.
except for, we have spent money on other things that weren't in the budget, and this is a public safety issue. And the things we've spent the money on weren't. So sometimes we have to find the money. And I get it that DPW doesn't have the money, but Dave's talking about 7 years not painted.
Yeah.
I'm out on County Road with people driving 50 miles an hour with crosswalk not painted. Can't even see it. So these are safety issues. So if we can find the money for other stuff, that's why we file orders. Also because we have our constituents saying, I told you about this 3 years ago and you didn't do anything about it. So when we file orders, the council approves them, we send it to DPW, nothing happens, that translates into we're not doing it.
Right.
So
After a couple
that's why you
years.
see orders.
Yeah. After about a year or so, we're probably gonna file an order on it.
Yeah. And then when those don't work, then you're gonna start getting citizens petitions.
Yeah. Petition.
Just saying,
Yeah.
they're coming.
Counselor Givner.
So we're always, moving money around. Is there, as I'm seeing more of the studies from Chris and all the budgets involved, it's easier to understand how much things cost. I mean, this doesn't tell us how much all the striping costs and stuff, but why can't we transfer funds for emergency?
We can.
Okay, so I don't understand.
We need to.
All right, thanks.
So for this one, it's complied with?
Mayor can.
Yeah.
Let me correct
Motion's been complied with.
Second.
I also
Second,
do have
all in favor?
Okay.
a cost on the first page for
For
just
the
regular paint, not thermoplastic lines,
Okay, thanks.
for 4-inch lines.
Item 25 was filed by Councilor McGee. Order that the city engineer review the intersection of Yale and Park Slope to determine what options are available to help slow traffic in the area.
So I did evaluate this, I think last year at some point. The traffic volumes are not high enough to meet the stop warrants, so I'm not recommending turning it into a stop intersection. I did think possibly an informational sign, such as a yield sign, could be installed to try and slow people down. But I don't know. I don't know if this is actually still an issue at that location or.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Do you want? I mean, if you would like to order an informational sign, like a yield sign,
So-
to be installed.
So file an order for,
No,
Or
we could just
disapprove
do
it
that
now.
here if that's
Right.
the solution.
Yeah.
That
they're looking for anything that'll help.
anything. Okay.
So,
I mean, we can install an informational sign.
okay.
Okay.
We'll start the process, yeah.
Then the order will
So
be
motion is to approve the recommendation of an informational sign?
Yeah, or yield sign. That's fine. Yeah.
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
And four. Item 29 was filed by Councilor Bartley. City engineer provide an update to future public safety meeting on the status of funding repairs at the crosswalk at the main gate to
We
HCC.
do 27, 28?
Those were complied. Those were packaged.
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
So the HEC main gate. You wanna see attached concept plan as a
Yep.
recommendation?
So the concept for that was included in the packet. The concept would be to remove the beacon and install RFBs across with a crosswalk and rework the median. Along with this, we're going to have ADA sidewalk ramps on either side of the crosswalk and some additional sidewalk work on the campus side to feed into the existing sidewalks. So the engineer's estimate for this is 120 to 175, and here's the recommended concept. So,
Yeah,
Councilor Bartley.
yeah, this is all good news. So we just have to identify a funding source. So through the chair, have you approached the mayor about this?
I have not.
When do you plan to do that?
I didn't have a plan to do that. I was going to come here with it,
Okay.
see if
so
this
that-
is something that we wanted to pursue. I know. Did you end up talking to anyone at HCC, or is that something you'd like me to reach out about?
HCC's in flux, so it's hard to know exactly with whom we can confer. It's hard to get a straight answer as to what's really happening there, and I don't think this is going to get much traction with all the other things going on. So I'm going to recommend strongly that we can say this is complied with, and that we perhaps I'll have to follow up with a follow-up order to say now that we have a budget estimate, we consider a funding source. So I'm going to strongly recommend that we you'll talk to Carl, clearly, and Carl and you can talk to the mayor. And since this is a state road, I'm hopeful that maybe there's some potential for Mass DOT participation. To me, it's a no-brainer that HCC should be involved, but I tried once and I didn't get anywhere with it. So, but it should be revisited, and I think it can be revisited because it truly impacts the campus. So yeah, when we say it's complied with, I'll file a separate order to identify funding for this, and we'll just keep this up going forward.
Thank you.
Motion that's been complied with.
Second.
All in favor?
Right.
Thank you. For the purpose of the rest of the meeting, I have to actually go, so I'm going to hand it over to Councilor Givner to
Yay.
manage the rest of the meeting.
Thanks, Izzy. Bye. So we're on to item 30. Order by Councilor Bartley, order that the mayor and community development department fund the following projects with either CDBG or ARPA funds: repair sidewalk on east side of Queen Street between Coit Street and Queen Street, and build repair sidewalk on west side of High Street from Norfolk to Parento Drive, repave Merrick, repair sidewalk on south side of Hamden Street between Nonotuck and Pleasant Streets, with the section near Thorpe Ave in Ward 4 in need of immediate attention.
So all of these are on our comprehensive list now. Some of them are probably not CDBG eligible. I was informed by the OCD office that sidewalks were not an ARPA eligible activity. So that was in my original letter of interest, but I did not submit a full application for sidewalk money due to eligibility concerns over that. So at this point, that's kind of what we have to work with is CDBG funding. And if council ever or the city decides to ever do another appropriation for sidewalks, I think that would be a great idea.
Councilor Bartley.
Now, the good news is that 2 of these are done.
Great.
So actually it's the 2 bigger ones.
Yeah, I mean, we are listening to what the residents want and trying to find the money to do the different things.
So
We are really trying.
So, Josh deserves a lot of credit for getting it done. This took many years. So that's the sidewalk part is done. That's relative on Norfolk to Parento. So that's the I-391. So that we have, and Merrick Avenue is done. And it's Merrick and Argyle, and that's fantastic. In fact, your email is very helpful with the planning, the advanced planning for that. So, and Merrick and Argyle were in horrible shape, and now they look terrific. I received exactly 0 thank you phone calls, but that's okay. The point is,
Never get thank
the point
yous.
is that we knew how to get done for both these, and I talked to the mayor about that. No, none of the moms that pushed their their strollers up the hill, going to stop, save a lot. They're not gonna call us, and we were laughing about it. The fact is, we got the sidewalk done, it was something we should be proud of, and we're both grateful that the money was there. The other ones are little guys. The little asphalt sidewalk between Coit and Queen, and then the section on near Thorpe, that's on the same side, kind of going between Picks and Woodstone. You know, that's probably one of the worst sidewalks I've ever been on. It's really pockmarked, it's really horrible, it's uneven. And so that I'd love to see potentially prioritize if we could. I think all of us can get behind that. That's actually heavily trafficked now. So, anyway, I think you can say to the committee that this has been essentially complied with, and that while there's more work to be done, we're getting there.
Entertain a motion that,
A motion that's been complied with.
second, all in favor?
Aye.
All right. Item 31, filed by Councilors Bartley and Puello, ordered that the city engineer consider the following road improvements on Main Street in Springdale in lieu of replacing the traffic light, install a raised crosswalk, and solar-powered pedestrian signal. See, did we cover this already with item 13?
Yeah, we should have taken this up with 13.
Well, we could have. So,
But we didn't, so,
so what we did here, if I may, Madam Chair,
absolutely.
what we did though was we recommended a couple other nuances to what the engineer discussed. In lieu of a $265,000 traffic light, I'm not Kruskin here, but I'm just saying that a raised crosswalk and a pedestrian signal on there probably are going to go a long way towards mitigating the concerns of the residents in Springdale, which is, that, if that's not one of the hearts of Holyoke, I don't know what is. So that's like old-time Holyoke right there. That and, Davis and Congress and all those. That's old-time Holyoke that's really got to be, considered. They're incredibly loyal residents, especially to that area. So I'd love to see something done to sort of figure that out, Chris. So I'll defer to Will on this one, but that's my take.
I think it was tabled, right?
We
13. I think 13 was
Counselor
tabled.
Puello.
13 was tabled.
Oh, do I have to do that?
No, I'll do it. I think Jeffrey will unmute him, but
Oh.
just gotta.
Councilor Puello?
Thanks, Madam Chair. I just wanted to apologize to Councilor Bartley. I should have thanked him before, because Councilor Bartley's, I really appreciate you, sir, helping me work on this one. You pointed me in the right direction. I know you called down to the alarm division down at Fire, and to Councilor Gourdain too as well. I know he's been getting phone calls, so I just wanted to thank Councilor Bartley and Councilor Gourdain. Really appreciate you guys.
Well, so what do you want to do with the order? Do we table it?
Well, it's tabled. It's tabled.
Okay, so we'll just table this one as well, then, right?
So motion is to table.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So we're to item 30, did we do 32 already?
Yeah.
Yep, 32 is
Okay.
good to go.
33.
33, filed by Councilors Jordan and Bartley, ordered that the city engineer review the opportunity to put a raised sidewalk in front of Blessed Sacrament School on Westfield Road and report back to the city council on our ability to do that. These were placed in front of Mayor Field on this street and should also be considered here as well for child safety.
So we have a shared streets grant with Mass DOT, and we were able to change the scope given that the raised crosswalks that were proposed on Appleton won't work for several reasons. So we actually were able to shift that to the Kane Road,
Thank you.
no problem, and the Blessed Sacrament raised crosswalks.
Excellent.
So we have to wait for bids to come back. Hopefully they'll come back favorably and we can do everything that we want to do.
Great.
So is this complied with then?
I think so. I think so.
So motion that's complied with.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Item number 34 from Barbara Blodgett regarding a letter sent to Mayor Garcia addressing speeding on Hillside Ave and speeding within the city of Holyoke.
So I have had many conversations with Barbara, and some of the issues are really just general issues with speeding in Holyoke that we're all familiar with and we know is a problem. Specifically on Hillside Avenue, we did do speed studies, and the 85th percentile speed does not exceed 30 miles per hour, so speed humps there are not recommended. There was a petition, so this was already discussed at the ordinance committee meeting. I don't know when that was. That was several months ago.
Yes.
So that's just kind of repeating what was already stated there. I don't know if there's
But Macintosh was new, right?
further follow-up. Yeah, you know what? I didn't mean to put that column in there. Sorry, that's just a
No, but I'm just.
typo.
I think that's still on my in my
Sorry.
jacket.
Is it? Okay.
Just saying.
No, that got approved already. That was
Macintosh. Okay,
was
that
approved,
one's
yeah.
done. There was
Yeah.
another one.
Yeah.
There were a lot of M's in there.
Yeah, but that column is
All right.
erroneous.
I'll just cross that off.
So yeah.
So this is
So-
complied with.
yeah.
Create confusion.
All right, so
All right.
motion that's complied with.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Item number 35, filed by Councilor Puello, ordered that the city engineer please explore the feasibility of installing a divider at the top of St. Vincent Street. Concerns have been raised about vehicles being able to turn safely.
You want to take up 36 with it?
Yes.
Suspend the rules, take 35 and 36 as a package?
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
So item 36, also by Councilor Puello, that the city engineer please explore feasibility of or repairing the raised crosswalk on West Franklin and Magnolia Ave. Concerns have been raised about its effectiveness.
Okay. So for 35, I did ask the DPW to put just a center line at the top for starters, just to delineate lanes up there and also to cut the vegetation, because I think there's a vegetation is obscuring around the corner there.
Oh, nice.
And so if we want to table this for now and see kind of how that goes and if that actually fixes it, and if not, we can look at providing the plastic delineators.
Right, so motion, actually,
What about-
Councilor Puello?
That's 35.
Thanks, Chris, for that suggestion. Really appreciate you.
Right, so 35 would be to table.
Right.
Yeah, I guess while the DPW installs the double yellow center line.
All right, so motion to table 35?
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And item 36. Thank you.
All right,
I already read item 36.
So 36 is about just repairing the West Franklin Magnolia raised crosswalk. So that will happen. That was cut through as part of the Holyoke Waterworks project, so that will be fixed.
Awesome. So,
complied with? Motion that's,
second. All in favor?
Aye.
Item
Oh,
30.
can I add one more thing to that?
Nope, too late.
Nope, too late. Okay.
Come
Well,
on.
just anyway, if you just read the way the road's sloped, you have to have there's a maximum cross slope on a crosswalk.
Mm-hmm.
So if you have a heavy, like a high slope on the road, the effectiveness is reduced. It ends up being more of a ramp, because of its imbalance with the slope. So anyway, that's what's going on there. It's not the most ideal place. I think it does something, but that's why it's not as effective. Because you can't put the cross slope to match the road. Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah, they're sounding better and better. Okay, so that's in the works, so complied with.
Motion is complied with.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Item 37, ordered that the flashing stop sign be installed, by Councilor Anderson Burgos, ordered that a flashing stop sign be installed to replace the current standard stop sign located at Magnolia Ave going up Portland Street. Cars are speeding and ignoring the current stop signs. Yeah.
Okay. I forgot to say one thing I wanted to say about this, but I did discuss it in 39. So, they're $3,200. The couple of things that I want to discuss with it is just that it's an ongoing maintenance for the DPW to maintain these LED stop signs because it's obviously a solar powered sign. It does require regular maintenance to keep it functioning. The other thing is, I don't really recommend these in residential neighborhoods because I do think they're a nuisance. So it's a high-powered LED. The lights are all around the stop sign, and it's blinking at 50 to 60 times per minute. So if you're trying to sleep next to that, it's yeah. So these work. We've put these, like at Appleton, like on Ray Street at Appleton, Dwight, things like that. It makes sense down there when it's a more industrial or commercial setting. So I just want to make sure people are thinking about kind of the side impacts of these too, that at night they can be quite a nuisance. So just to say that, but I'm happy to do it if that's really what the residents want. I'm just concerned that once they go in, then the residents that are right at that corner of Magnolia, Portland, that neighborhood are then not really going to want them once they see what it's like at night.
Counselor Anderson Burgos?
So where the stop sign is currently located, it's next to a bush that's completely blocked by the house to the right of it. The houses to the left are up on a hill, so it's rare for them to see the blinking red lights. I do know what you're talking about because the ones on Hillside, I've only had one complaint, and it is what you're saying, that the resident that resides next to that sign sees the blinking red lights through his window, but that's not the case at this intersection or at this section of Portland. It's covered by these bushes. You can't even see the stop sign as you're coming down Portland because it's heavy vegetated. But if there's a blinking red light, that alerts the drivers. I mean, if they're good drivers, right, to stop.
Okay, that's fine. Yeah, I can. Again, we don't have budget items for these in the current budget, but there's we can search around. 3,200 is manageable.
Okay, thank you.
If you want to install it, we can do that.
Counselor Anderson Burgos, I always pull up a map when I'm sitting here and I'm looking. I obviously can't see which houses are up on a hill, but from the map, it looks like at that intersection, there's houses all there. Have you spoken with all the homeowners there or residents?
Yeah, this is where that order came from.
Okay, just making sure because I could totally see something like that going in a neighborhood and everybody complaining immediately afterwards, like the parking on my street, for example. So, all right, thanks. So,
Thank you.
37, motion to adopt the recommendation.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Item 38, also filed by Counselor Anderson Burgos, ordered that the DPW place a stop sign ahead on the gas and electric pole number 8 near 59 Magnolia Ave.
Yep. So we're happy to do this. Just as an aside, we're no longer permitted to put signs on HG&E poles. So that's a whole nother thing. But I'm happy to do this. It would be installed 200 feet from the intersection,
But not on the pole.
MUTCD, just on a separate signpost. So if you'd like to order that, that's fine.
Question,
Counselor Bacon?
why not?
Why not putting them on the poles?
Yeah.
I don't know. It was a request from HG&E to stop doing that. I don't have an answer for
We
it.
need more poles. That's what it is. More signs, stanchions, and more poles.
I think they have trouble painting the posts. I don't know.
They don't paint the posts. Sorry, Counselor Anderson Burgos.
No, I was just gonna comment that I'm wondering if it's due to relocating poles or, I honestly, we would have to have HG&E weigh in. We can sit here and guess all night, but we don't know the answer. Only HG&E has that answer.
But speculation is so fun. All right.
So motion to adopt the recommendation for installing the sign.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Item 39, filed by myself, ordered with community support that all four-way intersections include either red blinking lights or solar-powered stop signs, and that any new stop signs installed include solar-powered lighting. So I understood your last point.
Okay. Yeah, I just several things that we've already talked about. the costs for one. I don't have a number of all-way stops in the city, but it would be, close to $13,000 per intersection, and that doesn't include the time of the DPW and their labor to install those. We don't have funding for that. The maintenance issues, obviously, the high intensity, really each location should be looked at individually. And probably these really should be saved for places that really need them, that have a lot of non-compliance with stop signs. So that's.
Motion has been complied with.
Are you?
Thank you,
okay
Chris.
with that? Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
Makes
if
a lot of
there's
sense.
if you can think of intersections that you want to bring up on an individual basis, that we can talk about that.
Absolutely.
Okay.
I mean, of all these, she only had one order. and
I know.
that's what you
Sorry.
did.
I had one other order. I had one other
you
order.
did? Oh, yes.
Yeah, that one went really
Hey,
well.
come
Thank
on.
you very
You
much.
had one order.
It was at the end. It was bound to already have been covered. All right, and all in favor? Aye. Item 40, filed by Councilor Anderson Burgos, ordered that the city engineer provide feedback to address traffic safety issues at the intersection of Linden, Anderson, and Mackenzie. Drivers have been observed frequently driving through, often speeding through the stop sign on Linden. Recently, a vehicle hit a house right at that corner. Councilor Anderson Burgos.
Yeah, this one has, since I bought the house in 2012, has been an issue. When I'm making a left onto Mackenzie, making my way up to that little intersection there, where Linden and Anderson and Mackenzie meet, cars coming from Linden do not stop. They just fly right through, make the left, or go straight through. And I've been hit. Not been hit. I've almost been hit. I can't even count how many times. They refuse to stop. So this accident where the car like literally flew right through onto the homeowner's lawn and right into their home got me thinking I better file this order just to see what we can do about that specific stop. They're not stopping. And I didn't know if you had any suggestions, but it's just that was a hard pill to swallow, especially for the homeowners.
Yeah.
Yeah, so this, I think it was actually nice to look at all of these orders together because there are definitely some themes that emerged, and so Linden Street is one of those. So I think that corridor analysis as one of the 3 detailed analyses that I can pick up, in the very near future, will help give us some ideas on kind of how to handle it as a whole corridor through there, and it terminates at that intersection.
Yeah. Are you satisfied, Councilor Anderson Burgos?
Yeah, I'm wondering if this one should be tabled just because are you referring to the Mass DOT project that's scheduled for 2027?
No, I am.
Okay.
In the intro paragraphs of the memo.
Because Linden and
Basically,
West Franklin Street come up a lot. It's
so
like a block
basically,
away.
Linden and West Franklin, that'll be one study, and then the corridor of Linden from Cabot all the way to Mackenzie, that will be another more detailed corridor study that I'm planning to undertake.
Okay.
Yeah, because Linden and West Franklin is in the top 5% of intersection crash clusters in Massachusetts.
Right, and I don't want to say this is complied with until I see get the feedback as to the next steps.
Yeah,
we can table it.
So so these 3 studies, these 3 more detailed studies, I hope to have them done. We'll collect speed data in the fall and get the engineers working on it. So it's
Okay.
Those 3 are definitely on the books.
So motion, we table it.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
The Dale Street one, though? But you'll do it.
I will do those.
Okay. Last but not least, item 41, filed by
That was
Councilor. Sorry.
That was done, wasn't it?
Done.
Oh, that's
That
it.
was
Your job is done. Can I just make one comment, please?
I guess.
So, Chris, I just really want to thank you for this. It was a while coming, but you had an awful lot on your plate. And I think this comprehensive look was better than trying to do everything piecemeal and one at a time. So I think it was worth the wait to see the priorities, and now
Yeah.
I think we'll come out with a better result. And, you know, I have no problem explaining to people that things take longer when somebody's trying to really take a holistic look.
It's also
You know,
nice
so,
to hear.
Thank you.
Yeah. It's nice to hear too that there's obvious patterns that are emergent when you see it all together, because
Yeah.
our complaints are different but the same. They're just in different sections of the city, and it is nice. I've seen the work that you're doing with or somebody's doing, loading up information in some of the studies you're doing and what parts of the city you're working on, and so that's something really nice to be able to. Send the link to constituents and say, hey, you know, these are the things that are happening. This is why this is going on. And so it's definitely very much appreciated. And it only took us 2 hours.
Really, not bad.
Yeah. lot.
It's all written.
I left all the hard ones. A lot of great work.
How long? You worked on it for how many months? And it only took 2 hours.
Yeah, a lot of great work. Thank you. Thanks.
Thank you.
Motion to adjourn.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thanks, everyone.
Hi, everyone. Thank you.
Good night.
If we had money, I'll tell.